Dogpatch.
Hi. Hi, Dante.
So you were talking about SMPTE?
Yeah, I had a really bad experience.
You'd never encountered the term SMPTE?
I'd never heard of SMPTE.
Being an ex-member of the Mitty Gritty Dirt Band, you'd never heard of SMPTE?
Your boy Akai Rizdal had never heard of SMPTE. Just trying to wrestle with it in Nashville, Tennessee, and just coming up goose egg.
It's kind of an obscure technological bridge.
Yeah.
Sometimes it syncs video and audio together. I'm sure that you could just Google it and actually learn what it is, but there's been one on the back of my MPC since I've had it in the 90s, and I was like, I don't know what this shit is.
From what I gather, it's probably a predecessor to the technology used for Serato, like control discs, like something that emits a signal that allows two machines to speak the same language, which is called SMPTE, to sync up devices that are controlled by MIDI or control voltage or something like that. You know, essentially what we were trying to do was fancy stuff that before SMPTE, like there was a pre-SMPTE way to do it, but we're like, but we got SMPTE. You know, like we're basically the newfangled dudes who were like, there's this new tape format called Dash, like the future is here. But it was the future of like 1996. Like all the tutorials we were watching were camcorder transferred to YouTube, like
of Skunk Baxter talking about how to use SMPTE.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah. So as I always remembered it, it was kind of a way to sync your sound up to images. That's for some reason the impression that I was always under. So today's show is a kind of a SMPTE-ass show if you take that definition, because we're going to be playing library music today. A genre in which neither you or I really gives a fuck about, but is an endlessly fascinating and deep little corner of the record world.
Absolutely.
I don't collect the music. I have a great appreciation for it, but I can't be bothered to collect this shit. It's almost all European, but there are some American library houses. And for the uninitiated, library music is music that was made in a studio with the sole purpose of being used in film, television, or radio as synchronized background or a music bed. It was used to illustrate visual cues. And as such, a record will be made by a library company, and it will be called like dramatic moods or crime jazz. You know, sometimes it gets hyper specific. Many years ago, 15 years, 10 years ago, I was at Music Hall in Columbus, and they had an entire box of Capitol Records media music, which was Capitol's library arm. That ran for about 10 years. It's actually really cool because the musicians they have on these Capitol joints, it's the Wrecking Crew. It's Carol Kay, it's Earl Palmer, it's Paul Humphrey, it's probably Glenn Campbell playing on some of the shit. It's all the guys that were in the Capitol studio. And before I threw all these records into the wind and sold them or whatever, I sat down with a couple joints in this box of records and went through and taped a bunch of the stuff that I thought was cool. Because a lot of this stuff is real prescient in that they're trying to describe a mood that may not exist yet. So they'll get a little experimental and be like, well, bring the synthesizer out for this and see what it sounds like. There's all kinds of fascinating moods across these Capitol records.
But it seems to me with library music, it's meant to be background music, but it's meant to be arresting in a certain way where it has a distinct, you know, obviously they want you to pick their catalog over somebody else's. So they have to put nice little tasty touches in there. A lot of times they will make facsimiles of songs that are popular at that time. The reason that this exists and the reason that there was entire record companies and studios devoted to making incidental music was because licensing music, if you liked a song, if you liked Hey, I Feel Good by James Brown, the James Brown estate's going to come back and say, oh yeah, it's $100,000 to license that. Yeah. These were, I think, royalty free, you know, basically a subscription service. Like, oh, we want to use this to cut to the Weekend Fun segment with meteorologist Greg Jennings, and then they could just pull it off of this record.
These aren't like piecemeal records. You're like, okay, I want the Music DeWolf music library. So you'd buy all of the records, the entire library, and they were expensive. So let's, for the sake of argument, say there was 100 records in the catalog. Let's say it was like $3,000 in 1974. Built into that price of the records were the licensing. So you're like, if you already bought the records, then you can use this, you know, like you said, kind of like a subscription. We have your name on file as someone who bought the set. So if you want to use it to illustrate the sports section of the nightly news, feel free. Famously, there's a library called Themes And one of the themes songs became the theme song to the People's Court.
Oh,
so
wow.
a lot of Americans were hearing British library music without even knowing it growing up, staying at home from school sick and nothing on TV but the fucking People's Court. And they were hearing this pretty progressive themes as one of the cooler British library catalogs.
And KPM seemed to be one that really had its moment of like bootleg t-shirt infamy, like in the late 90s.
KPM and Boozy and Hawks, a lot of these companies are rooted in really old publishing companies. Literally turn of the century, like sheet music people, because it wasn't about hitting the charts. It was about the kind of behind the scenes licensing and the kind of money that could be made in the room where the sausage was made. It wasn't about the final presentation. It was like, you know what, there's a lot of moving parts here. We should try to monetize some of this shit.
But I think that's what makes the Capitol collection so unique and so remarkable, is it's not just some little crew of conservatory students and recent grads, professionals, blue collar musicians. It's the biggest game in town, using the best studios in America and the finest players on a couple off hours just to lay down some grooves, just to maybe cover overhead, like to pay the electrical bill that month.
And I'm sure a lot of these musicians, they're probably working on union scale, and they're like, yeah, sure, I'll stay for another 2 hours and just like fiddle out a couple bass lines. Or, interestingly, the library music, because they're little vignettes, and most of them are like a minute long, minute and a half, it's just to illustrate very specific stuff. They became deep sample fodder in the 90s, because you'll have a whole library record that's just drums or just electric piano, just all the parts you need to make other music. So you could take one catalog, anything, color sound, which is another European thing, and make 100 records just from the color sound samples, because there's so many huge descriptive musics within those LPs. And it also should be noted that a lot of the music on some of the library records is kind of pastiche. Like the soul has been taken out of it in a little bit. Like the drive to make this art, it didn't come from a creative part of the person. It came from like, you know what, I could use an extra $80, man.
Yeah.
So there's this weird it sounds like disco, or it sounds like heavy rock, but the kind of like emotional part of it has kind of been, at least on the creator's end of things, has been kind of like siphoned out. So you're just left with the sound, or what it looks like or should look like.
And on these library records, it should be noted that there are abstracts of what each song sounds like. So if you're a music supervisor digging through these records, you'll look at the back and it'll say buoyant, reggae
Mid-tempo.
inflections, mid-tempo.
With bass feature.
Yeah. Exactly. So if you're just scanning these things, you can pick something out and put it on. And so in that way, I think a lot of the songs also are very focused.
Yeah, I like the kind of to the pointness of a lot of this shit. They're like, there's no long intro, just give us the body and then move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
These Capitol ones in particular, it's hard to get even a complete list of how many of these fucking things there are, because it started in like the early 60s, probably went until the early 80s. They all look exactly the same. They all have stock covers, the exact same cover, which is a picture of the Capitol Tower in LA. There'll be different colors and shit, but you always have to turn them over to see what you're actually dealing with. So let's get right into it. I don't know the names of any of these songs. I recorded this shit, 10 years ago, and song titles don't matter. And there's no bands attributed to any of these. Sometimes there'll be a composer attributed to these, but often the composer name is a pseudonym.
Yeah.
Because again, with that union stuff,
Yeah.
they didn't want to spread themselves too thin with their real name. So they're like, okay, I'm going to do all of this stuff under a pseudonym and just collect these union wages. So let's get right into it.
All right, this is what I'm hearing. A girl getting dressed up to go out, like in some fancy nightwear, like in an apartment, like a high rise, and her husband, who's clearly like a meathead, is like, duh, like, what's taking her so long? Like, and she's like, do you like this? And he's like, like, just put anything on. Now, keep in mind, we can't hear them talk because it's just music playing. But then at the very end, the reveal is she opens the door to leave, and he thinks that they're going out, but she's going out with her girls. What? And it's like a commercial for like legs, pantyhose, or deodorant, or like some perfume that wants to think of it as like for nights out for you.
Take a sniff.
All of these little vignettes, since most of them are so short, they beg the imagination to pair it with some kind of cinematic scene or a commercial or some product. And many moons ago, Kirby and I probably drank 250 beers and smoked a lid, if you will, of the finest Michoacan.
Dude.
And we just sat here and laughed our ass off because we played the CD and we were just creating these scenes for all these little bits of music.
Because that is the function of these libraries.
Yes.
Was, for they would probably usually work backwards. They would come up with a treatment for an ad and then try and find the music that suited that. But we were working backwards from the music, and every song we listened to, I mean, I think we would like breathe and kind of ponder for 10 seconds and then go into our treatment. Like It was kind of like you had to hit the Family Feud buzzer and be like, check it out.
Restaurant.
And the most famous one, which we've not been able to really put our finger on, was called the Tailor.
In A Drunken and Stone Stupor, we developed this entire scene where a guy is at the tailor and he's coming in and out of the changing room like, how's this one? And the tailor's like, no. And it just goes on and on until finally he comes out with the right sartorial look, and it's like thumbs up.
And the tailor is like this tiny Italian guy who's like basically like climbing on this guy like a jungle gym.
Yeah, he's got the measuring tape around his neck.
The chalk, he's like the perfect Italian tailor. He makes the commercial.
Mangia.
Like he goes on to be one of the squares in Hollywood Squares.
Yeah. There was also a great deal of fake movies we developed, or fake scenes in movies that involved stewardesses. That's all I remember. Is like there was a lot of stewardess footage in that night. So we invite the Dogpatch listeners, as you hear these tiny little pieces of music, these little vignettes, to in your brain, what would be the visual companion to some of this music?
Or in the van with your band that you're traveling with on tour now, or with your significant other, listening to these. This is one of the most fun games we've ever played here in the Dogpatch, is listening to library music and coming up with treatments, like rapid fire treatments for library music and how they would play out in cinema, advertising, television,
radio.
Yes.
This next thing we're going to play, for me, has mad airline vibes. Like I see stewardesses, I see rolling carts, I see Arrival at the Final Destination, a 70s woman, TWA, with the cool outfit, coming out of the plane, couple days off. She's in Tokyo, about to hit the town, maybe spend a little money in the electronics part of the city, like, I forget what it's called, it's not Shinjuku, but whatever that electronics part is, that's real crazy. And she's just ready to do it. She's single. She's ready to mingle. She's a powerful woman. She's beautiful. I get crazy TWA vibes.
Well, it could either be like a hiring push, like TWA is now hiring, like visit some of the most exotic locations in the world. But I could also see another version where she's getting ready to go out and she sees passengers from her plane. And then the kind of tagline is like, we travel to so many destinations, like so many exotic destinations, that even our staff can't wait to get out on the town. See what you think. Don't let us imprint that upon your
don't let us
notions.
color this. This what's fun about this game is that everybody has their own vignette. This could be, a jungle adventure for somebody else. I'm thinking more airlines related. So that one has like outdoor fun vibe for me, like a dune buggy, something outdoors with a group of people.
See, it's interesting that you say outdoors and dune buggy, because I see it like the intro with the like distorted guitar, kind of like honky funk guitar. I see it as being the beginning of extended cab trucks, and this guy's like getting in a truck, but he goes to pick up his date for like some red carpet affair, and the messaging for the advertisement is basically like the upscale truck or whatever, you know, when they started trying to like sell $30,000 trucks that were basically like luxury vehicles.
At home at the farm, but also at home in the city.
Exactly. Like it's something where like this is now a luxury item.
Breaking it down even further, both of us independently, there's transportation involved. I had a dune buggy and outdoor fun in my mind. You had a truck picking up some lady. So there's there's wheels and there's wheels involved.
I'm simply thinking from a point of commerce, like these are high ticket items.
That sounded like expensive shit to you?
That sounded like they were trying to sell something expensive, but I'm also just thinking That was probably some game show on some, like, you know, the Love Jones connection on like Cleveland Public Television could have used that. Or
I'm sticking with my wheels concept.
it's unlikely that every single one of these went to like billion-dollar accounts at Leo Burnett.
It's a pretty democratic industry, the library music industry, in that you could find this in big time productions, whether commercials, films, or whatever, but also lo-fi shit. I mean, it was a tool.
The cost of doing business.
So during pandemic, they debuted a new television station on the Comcast cable that I have. It's called The Griot.
Okay.
And it's all, for the most part, like African-American programming.
Uh-huh.
So they end up showing a lot of the same things, but sometimes they were digging pretty fucking deep. Like I watch JD's Revenge. I watch all these kinds of obscure blaxploitation joints. But during the daytime, they really got to fill the hours. So they show a lot of made-for-TV movies. And I watched this one called The Kids of Times Square. And it was about some like kids that like homeless kids that, you know, it's like some warrior shit, but they're like hung out at this arcade or whatever.
Uh-huh.
There's a scene, and the movie's from the 80s. It's like 86 or 87.
Uh-huh.
There's a scene, whatever, guy walks into the arcade and they play this Capitol media track.
Wow.
And you know, when you hear something that's super recognizable, but you can't place it and you're scrambling in your head, it's like, whoa, 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 whoa,
Yeah,
whoa, whoa.
fully.
Like what? It took me about 10 minutes and I was like, fuck.
You have to be the only person in the history of that program's life to recognize it from the Capitol Media
Exactly.
library, because
It's not data you can just put into the computer, like show me the incidental music for the Kids of Times Square made for ABC in 86 or 87 or whatever. Totally insane. And one of the only times I've ever heard actually Capitol Library shit on something I've been watching.
Hurricane Hugo, for whom the Charlotte Hornets mascot is named, hit North Carolina like in a real raw way in, I think, 89. Somebody had posted helicopter footage that had run on WRAL in Raleigh. And I was like, how sick is this music? And me knowing about library music, I was like, well, let me Shazam this real quick. Like, and sure enough, it was like Elements from like 1986 or something, like some LP catalog thing. That's super satisfying when you see some like sci-fi music being played and you know how the industry works between a certain year and a certain other year. And you're like, this is library music. Let me find it.
British library champion and all-around tastemaker Johnny Trunk, who does a lot of reissues of some of this library stuff, he carefully watched Dawn of the Dead and then located not the Goblin music, but the incidental music, which was culled from library. I can't remember which catalog, DeWolf or something. Carefully went through and watched it and then found all the LPs and put out a Dawn of the Dead incidental music LP 15 years. It was a really cool otaku deep geek thing. But this is the track that I heard on the Kids of Times Square. Listening to that and then the nature of that weird like homeless kid movie I saw, what did you envision? Weird kids hanging out at a Times Square arcade?
I don't dream that big.
That sounded a little bit more like French Riviera, kind of like.
I saw like kind of more like Curtis Mayfield Junkie Chase kind of vibes, where it's like a money laundering scheme, like throwing bags to a guy, like giving the wink to this guard who knocks out the other guard and drills a hole in the safe. Like I saw a heist.
You saw a heist?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get in. There was no like kind of violence in there for me.
It wasn't violent. Nobody got hurt because they were pros. It was
victimless
like
crime.
Ocean's 11's
A
type
victimless
shit.
crime. As I stated before, there's lots of bits and pieces that are like very eager sampler food.
Oh,
This
yeah.
stuff is sample mania, particularly kind of hip hop stuff. This next one, I remember when we played on our drunken excursion into this many years ago, like this was our like intro to the circa 94, I'm fucking flipping hip hop record where like the crew was about to get Rito.
Yeah, like the whole posse is in the booth doing the like slam, da, 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 let the boys be boys.
Yeah, the East Coast stomp, getting ready for this is the intro, not the
pop off.
Yeah, this is the pop off, and this shit is like
sped up a little bit with just like skull snaps underneath it.
Crew's about to get loose on this one.
Ninja turtles. So that one, the last one, it almost just sounds like somebody warming up or whatever. And like they're doing this kind of experimentation, whether successful or not, that would never occur on anything else but these.
No.
Yeah, you could play that chord progression like that, but just play it fucked up just because it's fucked up and somebody might take it and use it for some fucked up scene.
Yeah, exactly. They look on the back end, the abstract is like sort of fucked up.
Fractured, bouncy, mid-tempo with electric piano.
Prominent drums.
Was there a particular visage that you had during that fractured electric piano joint? Like writer's block? Like a guy struggling at the typewriter a little bit?
That's interesting. Well, I was thinking about how much the Sanford & Sons theme song sounded like library music, even though it was like a Quincy Jones joint written for the express purpose of being the intro to Sanford & Sons. But I was like, yeah, this sounds like the band rehearsing before all the other players showed up to record the Sanford & Sons theme. Or like practicing for the Lamont Sanford spinoff show.
You know, Lamont left the show and it was just called Sanford, like around 1980, and they replaced Lamont with like this big white hillbilly guy in overalls named Cal. You remember that shit?
I don't.
Definitely going to start showing that on the Griot, that station I was telling you about. Moving forward through our Capital Media box here. So this little piece, this little vignette, which is bass driven and the main melodic line is played with a bass, is really gorgeous. This is such a beautiful little 1 minute piece of music.
could kind of only reside on a library record. I couldn't see any kind of record, even a jazz record, just kind of having something this short and this finite, a perfect little square.
Such irony in these records existing, where there's like a beautiful piece of music that the artist will never receive credit for making. If this was your art form, making these little vignettes, and at the time the only marketable way that you could release them is on anonymous sync LPs that got sent like by the encyclopedia load to television stations or music supervisors in Hollywood, it'd be a real...
What's up, bro?
Contrary to what I stated earlier, that a lot of the emotion and soul is sucked out a lot of this. Of course, there's going to be glimpses of, true passionate creativity going on in this. And I think something like this is. And also, when people don't overthink something and just do it, often it's in its rawest, most beautiful form. They didn't overthink this and think about how they were going to arrange it. They just played for 1 minute and then they moved on to the next thing. So this is really remarkable. So that one, to me, the picture it paints is one where it's an older creative person, probably a writer, and they're in their twilight and they're looking back with fond remembrance about, say, the first kiss that they, that hot summer when they were 17, this kind of thing. That's what that paints for me.
Yeah, I could see a time-lapse theme like
a montage.
Well, like every kiss begins with K, like, buy her your silver anniversary ring, where they're like, he's thinking back about like when they were younger.
The good times.
Yeah. Things are still good because he's like still in love with her.
But all the benchmark moments of the relationship.
Because I feel like bass players are the kind of people who always have like a little melody kicking around. Hey, you got something to play? Like if you asked any one of us, hey, can you come like record something? We would play something that we just had been kind of riffing on, in our apartments or in our house. Or, oh yeah, every time I sit down at a piano, I've just been playing this little kind of riff recently. And they're like, all we need is a little riff. So it's perfect.
And one that's not terribly overthought.
Yeah.
It just rolled off you and that's how it is.
My imagination is alive. Let's go.
So let's listen to some more Capital Media.
Maximum grip, maximum grip, maximum grip, maximum grip.
So I'm getting like bedding montage out of that last one, like at the dog track or the horse track, like the
Bedding.
the hustle and bustle of like the windows, and then like the guys holding the program and then throwing it on the ground or ripping their tickets up once they've lost, like a montage of some kind of like on-site betting with usually an animal racing.
The wah pedal gives it like a sort of sinister element, like to me, an underworld element. So that's why I see the dog bedding, but also the vibraphone gave me like sort of a transit vibe, like a train or a subway kind of vibe. So I was like thinking about like a really crowded train and like people like struggling with groceries and like little kids and strollers and like
Tight quarters.
like a woman's face gets sort of like comically smashed into a guy's like stinky armpit or whatever, and it would just be like, we're on time, are you?
That little open drum track thing that I played in the middle there, that's just so you guys can put it into your MPC, your SB1200, your ASR.
Those are just some drums for you from us because we care.
To that point, so much of this already sounds like hip hop, especially since it's so kind of tightly contained and like loopy, if you will, that they're repeating these little motifs.
Yeah.
Another thing is the library industry never stopped. There are brand new library CDs. In fact, the last time I was down at WXRT, the big rock radio station here,
I'm Casey Kasem.
they have to make bumpers and different kinds of like ads and stuff. I was looking through the library CDs there, and there was one called like Street Heat, and I put it in to listen to it, and it was just all like fake Metro Boomin.
Wow.
It's incredible. Like it has all of the same drum patches and all the stuff you're hearing on contemporary radio now.
I mean, to a degree, that's not dissimilar from every producer making sample packs that are like really popular and really functional right now. It's just sort of like the restaurants that sold recipes for your favorite soups with all the ingredients. Pizza. And then you would pick it up and make it at home during Pando. So.
Well, it was also kind of interesting to think that like a KPM or a DeWolf or any of these established library companies were like, we're not going to get left behind with these sample pack producers. We'll make our own, trap rhythms, volume 6.
Now that's what I call trap.
But it also probably suggests that the library companies are giving some work to some young dudes that know what the hell that is. Because I don't think your Joel Van Drugenbeek or any of your old timer guy Keith Mansfield is going to know how to set up some Fruity Loop shit.
Like the people who ran record pools or the people who made killer cuts or whatever. They have to adapt or go extinct. So
next joint is definitely Moody Loops. You want Moody Loops? We got you. So that one's also kind of like proto Gigi Messine or some of this like Italian like ambient new age stuff from the 80s. It's a beautiful little parcel of music there, regardless if you're going to feed it into the MPC or not. Like I like that as a standalone like mood.
That to me was like a French movie where a sculptor is having to make a sculpture of his like deceased wife.
Like a period thing or like a modern sculptor?
He's up there in age and like he hasn't gotten his tools out in a long time, but he's like unrolling the leather bag with like all the tools in it. Yes. And he's like looking at the picture of her, and it's like this dutiful thing he has to do before he loses the ability to ply his trade.
And there's like the raw block of marble in the background, slightly out of focus, just like beckoning him, like carve me into the...
Yeah, it's like a challenge from the elements.
Very good. Very good. So we'll get the Dogpatch pre-production team to draw up those storyboards and we can start pre-production.
Yeah, I don't see why we're not getting paid to score movies that haven't been made yet.
The movies of our mind.
We're super tight at doing this. Sober as well.
Speak for yourself.
Enhance.
Special guest star, the Expansions Triangle.
Yeah, and the Ron Carter fan club winner of the week.
That one sounded like it had already been made into hip hop like recent. Like, dude's like, yeah, I grabbed this Ron Carter bass line and I was able to kind of tweak this triangle from this Flying Dutchman record. So
Yeah.
I just need to add the drums next.
Some of this bass sounds pitched down in the way that sounds like digital, like SP12 pitched
Yeah,
down.
there's some of it does have a little bit of SP
And I
crust.
know it's not. I know somebody just playing like a muddy bass line on like a bass that was in the studio because they were just like playing electric on everything else. It's like, why don't you play some upright? I was like, this thing? Dust off this thing?
The whole crew gets Rito.
Chillin', 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 chillin'.
Getting higher education vibes on that one. Dude's throwing the frisbee on the quad and like the University of Illinois offers that kind of shit. That's definitely there's a kind of like sentimentality to that too. It's fall, school's starting, you're at the quad, new people. The optimism is afoot, but you still got to work hard.
I was trying to think of what the like lyrics to that Steely Dan song were.
That you got Dan vibes off that?
It was just really tight and like really micromanaged in a way, and like the little like Upper West Side funk.
I think that's the description on the back of the mid-tempo Upper West Side funk.
Midtown funk you up.
Do you have any library records? Do you own a library record?
I have a few. I have one. It's an Italian record and it's called Jazz and Rhythm, and it has a song on it called Bob and Peter that's like a reggae song,
Shabba.
but it's barely Shabba. I think I sold all my like DeWolfs and stuff like that. But
if you're out there crating hard, when you find library, you either find no library or an entire box of it. Like the whole catalog.
and when I find it, it seems to be like I'll find library records with dance records like Hochter
Yes.
and
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So
My first encounter with this at all was working at the Music Exchange in Kansas City, like 93, and a television station dumped their stuff on us. And I'd never encountered, it's 93, pre-internet. I'm in America, and it was all good stuff. It was all like Brutens and KPMs and DeWolfs and themes and even some color sound and some German shit, sonotone. But again, I'm like, I kind of know what this is, but I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at. So it was a dive in the deep end right off the back. So I'd bring a box home at a time because there was like 1,000 of them or something.
Sure.
And I'd bring a box home at a time. And it was like, oh, particularly in that era, I was attached to the MPC. So I fed so much of that shit into to my sampler.
I think for me at age 41, it's like I either have to have all of them or none of them, So having one or two copies lingering in my collection, the ones that I have are ones ones that I would have found in the last year, because anything older would have just gotten sold to somebody who cares.
Goodbye.
I think I have in my personal collection 2 Korea sound kind of like drum machine electronic ones from like 80 or 81 that are probably only leasing space in my collection.
Yeah,
they'll eventually be
they're
gone.
really cool, but they're just kind of,
You got to choose your battles.
I'm not going to have a friend over for, you know, a glass of Chianti and an Italian library record. So
You're not living that right life.
I never said I was.
It's in the game.
There are some out and out like disco bangers and stuff on some of these Capitol joints that may inform your Chianti night if you had these in your collection. You know, rather than a 1-minute bass vignette, here's a kind of a fully formed like jam.
But also, do I want to listen to like a LP of back-to-back bangers at home? That just sounds exhausting.
You get exhausted by bangers?
Absolutely.
Banger fatigue?
Do you suffer from banger fatigue? I'm Peter Francis Geraci.
So here's 2 back-to-back kind of disco joints, or ones that you could, you know, conceivably play in some continental disco.
Well, and I'm going to say that there was definitely an era where you would get like a DJ Kicks compilation, like it would end with one of these like sweet Moog-leaded disco joints.
Breathy female joints. with
Yeah.
Moog.
And you'd just be like, what is that? And you'd look it up and you'd be like, who's Gernon Kingsley?
There's nothing wrong.
Gershon Kingsley?
Nah, Gernon, you know, so they couldn't get zooed.
Oh, the pseudonym. Gernon Kingsley from La Jolla.
Exactly.
So that's backing itself into this one corner that you kind of want to call porno music. Because that's another thing about library. A lot of the porno music is actually library music.
Absolutely.
So there's a porno vibe, but I don't know. Anytime I hear that vibe on these library records, I get airline and stewardess vibes in there.
We have to full disclosure. We took a little quick break to go grab a bite to eat. And we actually, you have to believe me, but we conjured the stewardess.
Well, she came right out of the train tunnel.
Yeah, she came up from beneath the street level. The pointed stewardess hat, like all
The
blue.
kerchief.
The kerchief, the
Everything.
skirt. I mean, me and Dante both looked at each other and like, that is the woman we were imagining when we heard these like stewardesses, in our mind reel.
The kind of plainly exotic, almost Scandinavian or Nordic, like
So very much.
stewardess stereotype. We saw her on the street after we've been talking stewardesses for the past hour.
We live on the blue line, which goes right to O'Hare. And so like when you're on the blue line, you see people going to and
It's
from
certainly not the first stewardess.
It's
I've
within
seen.
the realm of possibilities we're going to see this woman, but to see her today, to have played,
On library day.
to have like gotten the Zelda flute and played it to conjure her from O'Hare was really, that really made my day.
Chef's kiss on our library day.
Yeah.
So it's a hour or so of this library stuff. So we'll end it here, but we're going to go out with a track that I've affectionately dubbed Closing Time.
Okay.
Because it's definitely like the lights are on at the bar at 3 a.m. Everybody's pretty much the fuck out of there except for one or two really loaded dudes. And the guy's just kind of cleaning the countertop.
Drying the glasses.
Just like another night at work.
I think also the abstract on this would be like good for ending podcasts. Roll credits.
Exactly. So this is our sonic flipping of the sign to closed that we'll end out on.
Yes.
Dogpatch, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dante Carfagna.
And I'm Jonathan Kirby.
And if you're going to leave the bar in a helicopter.